Okay, let's dive straight into this explainer and, honestly, completely transform how we learn vocabulary. You know that feeling when you stare at a massive list of new words and just feel that familiar wave of brain fog? Yeah, we are fixing that today. We're tackling the 12 crucial words from Lesson 27, and instead of just agonizing over a list, we're going to group them into unforgettable thematic stories. That way, they'll actually stick in your long-term memory.
Here's how we're going to do it. 1. Disruption and exhaustion. 2. Action and urgency. 3. Character and power. 4. The thrifty distinction. And 5. Master your new words.
Now, looking at this whole list, from despite all the way down to monarch, it honestly looks like an intimidating classic textbook list, right? But here's the secret. We are absolutely not learning them top to bottom. Rote memorization is just inefficient. Context and connections are what we want.
So, Part 1. Disruption and exhaustion, when things break down.
We're kicking things off with 4 words all about obstacles, sudden stops, and just totally running out of steam. First up is despite, which literally means in spite of. You can think of it as the ultimate word of resistance. It's a really powerful preposition used when someone overcomes the odds. It's basically the vocabulary version of pushing through a brick wall.
To put that into perspective, check out this sentence. The player continued in the game despite his injuries. That is despite inaction. It perfectly shows someone putting up a fight and pushing forward, even with a massive physical setback.
Okay, taking a step deeper into the chaos, we hit the word disrupt, meaning to upset or cause a complete breakdown. See, if despite is about overcoming a hurdle, disrupt is the hurdle itself. Think about a crazy storm knocking out the power grid, or some random event just totally halting the routine we take for granted every single day. And this is where our little story comes together. If a disruption lasts way too long, you hit our next 2 words. First, exhaust, meaning to completely tire out or use everything up. You can exhaust a city's water supply or just exhaust your own physical energy. And what happens when your energy is exhausted? Well, that leaves you feeble, our final word for this bucket, meaning physically weak. So it's a chain reaction. A disruption forces you to push through despite the odds, which exhausts you and leaves you feeble. Makes sense, right?
Moving right along to Part 2. Action and urgency, speed, movement, and stopping.
Let's shift gears and talk about a totally different kind of energy, starting with rash. What's really fascinating here is its double identity. Sure, we all know the physical meaning, a skin breakout with little red spots. But linguistically, it's so much more than that. It means an outbreak of things in a short time, like a rash of burglaries. Or, and this is super common in everyday chat, making hasty, careless decisions when you're fired up. Like threatening to do something you definitely can't back up? That is a textbook rash decision.
Sticking with speed, we've got rapid, which simply means very quick or swift. Imagine a surprise attack. Your only smart move is a rapid retreat. But notice the difference here. Rash implies you aren't really thinking, whereas rapid is purely about the velocity of the action itself.
To finish out our action bucket, we have 2 really dramatic verbs. First is cease, which means to completely stop. When the curtain goes up at a play, the whispering in the audience must cease. Simple as that. On the flip side, we have unite, to join together and become one. Think of the 13 colonies uniting, or 2 families coming together. It's an active, powerful consolidation.
All right, Part 3. Character and power, traits, rules, and authority.
Let's step away from physical actions for a second and look at authority and personal traits. Here we have severity, a strong noun meaning strictness or harshness. We usually use it for tough situations, like the severity of a brutal winter storm, or maybe the severity of a strict teacher, which, let's be honest, nobody really appreciates until finals week.
The final 3 words of Lesson 27 are all tied to character and power. We've got monarch, which represents an absolute ruler like a king or queen. Then we have 2 character traits that are fascinatingly connected by how people handle their money. Miserly, meaning stingy, and thrifty, which means saving, careful in spending, and thriving.
Which leads us perfectly into Part 4, the thrifty distinction, nuance and value judgments.
Honestly, this right here is one of the absolutely most crucial concepts in this entire explainer. We really need to understand that synonyms do not always mean the exact same thing in the real world.
Both thrifty and miserly describe someone who grips their money tight. The actual behavior? Identical. But thrifty has this positive, smart, well-managed vibe to it. Miserly, on the other hand, is a deeply negative word. It screams greed.
The source text even has a Spotlight On section just for this, because it's that important. The underlying trait is exactly the same, but the word you pick actually reveals your own personal judgment. If you respect their budget, they're thrifty. If you're annoyed they won't pick up the check, they're miserly. So the words you use say just as much about you as the person you're talking about.
Okay, final section. Master your new words active recall challenge. You've got the context, the stories, the nuance. Now let's put your brain to the test. Let's lock this in with a few quick challenges. First up, the dying soldier made a last blank effort to rise. Okay, think back to our very first bucket, disruption and exhaustion. Who remembers the word for completely lacking physical strength?
If you said feeble, you nailed it. You saw the context of the exhausted soldier and matched the vocabulary perfectly. A feeble effort is a weak effort.
Next one. We often regret a blank statement made in the heat of an argument. All right, from our action and urgency bucket, what word means doing something way too fast and carelessly when tensions are running high?
The answer is rash, and it perfectly captures what happens when you speak with way too much speed and totally forget to think. We have all made a rash statement we wish we could take back, for sure.
Last one, let's lean into that nuance lesson. It is best to be neither too blank nor too careless about one's money. We need an extreme negative character trait here about money. Remember, it's got to be the negative one.
It's miserly, and that right there is the whole point. True mastery of these 12 words isn't just reciting a dictionary, it's knowing exactly what kind of judgment you're projecting out into the world. So, it really makes you wonder, what other everyday words are you using right now that are secretly revealing your deepest judgments to everyone around you? Chew on that for a bit, and I'll see you in the next Explainer.